I was surprised that they genuinely killed somebody off. And
Well,
I know a lot of there's contention with that. We'll get into that in a minute. But I like how it was done. The build up to that of having, because the whole point of the movie is, show me you guys can be heroes even when you're a flawed character. And I think Quicksilver coming around to that point and him dying like that was a cool kind of thematic resonance for that movie.
I gotta disagree with you there some. I thought that all happened way too fast. These guys had so much hate in them from sitting in that bunker with that bomb with their dead parents around them for days, and they get over it in like a 10-minute span of the movie.
I don't think they got over it.
It's like they're fighting alongside the guy they think is responsible for killing their parents.
Yeah, but once they realize what Ultron's doing, it's kind of picking the lesser. You don't have to agree with the person you're helping, but you could do it because what you're fighting against is something worse.
Here's the deal. One of my famous hypothetical situations.
Yeah.
Adolf Hitler has come back to life. You have one shot to take him out. The only way to stop him from doing all the nasty shit he's going to do is to team up with Saddam Hussein. Do you do it?
That's a no-win situation.
That's what they were in.
That's what they were in.
They were in
I'm
Scarlet
saying
Witch.
that it was written poorly, and it didn't convince me that all of a sudden he's now able to crack jokes with the people that he almost killed 10 minutes before in that boatyard. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's why I get to this idea where it's too much.
I agree
in the
that
movie.
I agree that it was written poorly, especially because the time skips so much. It feels like they just fought in the shipyard 10 seconds ago, but I think that was supposed to be a stretch of time from that. So it wasn't just like, oh my god, I hate you guys, I'm fighting you now, and then 24 hours later, they're fighting with them.
But that's what it felt like.
Well, that's the way the movie, especially the third act, because there's so much going on. This is why I kind of equate it to The Dark Knight Rises, where there's just so much that they're trying to do, and you do not have the time to do it, and you could feel that there were narratives that were shaved down to make room to fit it all in, like Thor's Quest. I mean, you can clearly feel that is such an outlier to that movie where it takes you out of it a little bit.
That was my big what the fuck moment.
It has nothing to do with this movie right now.
Right. I mean, that was the nuttiest part of the film for me. I'm like, the dude, and I texted you on this.
Yeah.
The dude that's the least articulate of that whole bunch
comes back
with the most information. I'm like, what the hell just happened? And it was literally, he's in the water, Selbit's talking
the least
with
articulate.
But well, that's because he doesn't talk, basically. But like, he goes into the pool.
Feelings hurt.
And then he shows up and like he's like, "There's 5 gems, and Thanos wants them all. The power, the mind." And it's like, what the hell just happened?
What?
And then reading Whedon's posts afterward about what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, all that would have been great to have in it. But then the movie would have been 4 hours long.
Well, I even think having that in full context would still be just a little too much, not needed, because we already kind of know what's going on with the Stones, and I understand you need to get them to know it, the actual team within the movie, but that just like these are part of my issues with Age of Ultron is everything just seems so convenient, everything just happens so conveniently to make sure we get to the end where we need to be.
Well, here's another side thing.
Like Nick Fury coming out at the end with the helicarrier on it. It's like, how convenient is that?
Yeah. All right. The other thing with that one is they've been covertly setting that up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the past 7 episodes.
Yeah. And that's why it's S.H.I.E.L.D.
Project Theta.
Well, here's a funny thing.
Which we just found out in the last episode was the helicarrier. Was Coulson's been prepping this helicarrier. But wait, before we move on.
No, go on.
From a writing standpoint, and again, I'm not saying that this was all good writing and all that, but from a writing standpoint, I understand why they wanted Thor out of the way for all the stuff that was going on while he was on his quest.
Oh, yeah,
because
totally
Thor was there.
No, yeah.
And that gives them an excuse to set up Ragnarok, get a lot of exposition in.
Yeah, I mean, from the shared universe plan perspective, totally makes sense, especially because you want Tony and Steve to have their to start their battle of their ideals, you know.
And not have Thor standing there to back one of them up with fucking Mjolnir.
Right.
With Mew Mew Mew.
Mew Mew Mew, yeah. I forgot about that.
But that's what we were talking about. You're sacrificing the movie that we're all watching now for movies that are going to be released in 2 years.
Well, I think that's what this movie is. This movie is a product of compromise.
Right, absolutely.
And you know, some of the gears work, and some of them don't.
Right.
I mean, I don't think the movie's bad in any way. I think it's a good. In fact, I think technically from a filmmaking perspective, the movie is better than the first movie.
Oh,
you know,
no doubt.
It's tighter. It's paced better. It
looks better.
Looks gorgeous. You know.
I mean, no doubt there. I mean, but man, it's like, and then of course with the Infinity story that he comes back with, it's like, so what you're saying is now on Earth, there is this robot guy, this artificial intelligence that is setting up to wipe out all life on the planet. But don't worry about that because there's a guy up there who's after these fucking gems that's really, really bad.
Right.
And it just made Ultron again.
It took away from Ultron. And
like,
he was already kind of a vague threat, I feel like. It's like going into the movie, I was expecting something a little bit more profound with this character, and he
got
just
no strings to hold.
Yeah, he didn't really give it to me. And then from an actual narrative perspective, he didn't really do much.
This robot's so fucking smart, he didn't put any of the vibranium on himself. And then he goes to battle these guys himself.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I thought Ultron was vibranium and adamantium alloys.
Depends on the version.
Yeah.
And as far as the vibranium, you have to remember, in the movie, he fully intended to put his consciousness in Vision's body.
Right. But
and that's where the vibranium went.
But it also went into the vibranium reactor, which raised
There
the
is
city.
that too.
I mean, come on, man.
Actually, fun fact about him putting his mind in, I think it was the first time that they stopped the countdown, or stopped the upload.
Yeah.
If you notice what percentage it's at 55.
Yeah.
Avengers number 55.
Yeah.
First appearance of Vision.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
I like that. That's a clever little Easter egg. Yeah, that's fun.
And then they killed Strucker, like, within the first 10
Okay,
minutes.
yeah, that kind of pissed me off.
That's fucking crazy, too.
He didn't feel like Strucker at all.
Ultron killed
Rushed.
Strucker.
Well, I mean, they in the sense
they
of the movie.
defeated him, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like he didn't even really act like Strucker, especially with the "We will not surrender. I'm going to surrender."
Yeah, right.
I mean,
that was a. Don't get me wrong. That was a funny moment. I chuckled at that.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. That's not
like
Strucker.
I
You know?
get the plan. The plan was not bad. I will go out, surrender, and maybe they won't look too deep into what we're doing, so the greater cause can go on.
Right.
And that is an awesome, like, Hydra officer thing to do.
Yeah.
That's not a Strucker thing.
It's not a
to do.
Strucker thing.
Strucker's gonna go out there with a fucking Satan claw in one hand and a rapier in the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Now, I do have to say though, the coolest little character to show up in there for me, I'm not even joking, I cheered when he showed up, was the SHIELD tech that stood up to Crossbones and Winter Soldier,
yeah.
who got a couple funny lines on the helicarrier.
See, I didn't like that part where he made the he screwed up saying that the boats were full. I was like, you guys took like a minute to get this joke out, and it came right at the crux of like the final battle. So it was just a very weird tonal part to put that in.
I was just happy to see him again.
I mean, yeah,
he was a cool character.
I was like, where did I see this character before? And that's what it is. I didn't even think about that. It was in Winter Soldier.
I think that's what it comes down to, Wave. It's what your expectations were. And from the, teaser from 2 years ago where we see Iron Man's helm get, trashed and turned into Ultron, I expected to get actually scared from a Marvel villain, and that hasn't happened to me at all.
It hasn't
the
happened
last
to me
few movies
either.
hasn't happened. I was telling Sam the last villain I actually kind of feared was the Red Skull,
And that was
I mean,
even
that was
kind of,
it.
and that was rough.
and that's only because it had the whole World War II zealot and I'm insane.
Should
Well,
we
I
talk
think-
about how
and I think-
unscary the DC villains have been?
And I think
No, because this is a Marvel.
I know,
Marvel.
I know,
movie
I'm just
thing.
saying.
And I think Hugo Weaving had a huge hand in making that character.
Exactly.
Oh, well, I mean,
Yeah.
he's Hugo fucking.
And that's the thing. No, I
That's the thing.
love James Spader as Ultron. I think he is wonderful, and he's got those cool moments, where he forgets what children are called. I mean,
That was great
Those are
right
super
there.
cool moments.